Hello out there. My name is Laolu Akonde, and you are on to Inside Sources. Today, I'm skipping my take because I'm going to have two very detailed conversations. The opening one with a 2023 presidential candidate of the African Action Congress, Mr. Omoyele Sowore. And then the second segment is a panel conversation on two important national issues. Inside Sources, we'll be right back. Welcome back to Inside Sources. Today I'm leading the show with a conversation on the future of our country, perhaps in the near term, with a presidential candidate of the African Action Congress in 2023, an online media guru, and a leading Nigerian activist, democracy activist at JSC. I'd like to welcome back to Inside Sources, Omoyele Sowore. My brother, good to see you this year.
Thank you very much. Happy New Year, no matter how belated it is. It's nice to be back here.
Yeah. I want us to talk about the future of our country, especially 2027 and beyond. But before we get there, can you just give us a chronicle of some of your cases so far? I know that there's quite a few of them. Just give us a quick update on that.
Well, as it is, I have outstanding 8 or 9 cases.
Wow.
Just from the President and the Inspector General of Police. And I started from January last year as well, where I was arrested for filming some policemen on the way to the airport. Okay. And then subsequently, the IG said, I have been mentioning too frequently that he was illegally appointed. So he decided to charge me for cybercrime, February, and that led to the seizure of my passport. Subsequently...
So they're still holding your passport?
Yes, international passport now for more than a year. And subsequently, I was also arrested and detained for leading a police protest, asking for serving...
A pro-police?
Yes, serving police and retired policemen to be given their due entitlements. And that also led to cybercrime charges, including that I was attacked inside a police cell at the FID. That charge included that I was trying to cause mutiny from by mobilizing policemen to protest. And I think another charge came from referring to the IG again as legal IG. And so also
different cases on your
yes.
On the fact that you said that the IG is illegal.
I think about 3. So, and that I also had mentioned that he carried out illegal promotion of some of his aides, including a female who was working as his private secretary. Okay. Several of them. So that led to another charge, and there was a charge at magistrate court against me for leading the Nnamdi Kanu protest.
Okay, that was the last one where you were held.
Yes, at Kuje prison. And there was another charge that the police was representing Ned Nwoko to charge me for cyber bullying.
Okay.
As Commissioner of Police versus Sowore, and they've sustained
So Ned Nwoko had written a petition against you?
Yes. Well, reportedly or allegedly.
You didn't see any copy of...
Well, he had sent a letter of retraction to SAR reporters in New York and claimed that he submitted and sent to the police. Right. So, and then yesterday, 3 new court lawsuits were filed against by the federal, at the High Court of Federal Capital Territory, by the IGP, the PSO2, ACP Bukola Kuti, and IGP's son, Victor Egbetokun. Victor was asking the court to tell me and to give an order that I should never say that he collected 100 million naira from the security vote of Anambra State.
Did you say it, or it was a Sahara report?
It was reported by Sahara. So they take me as Sahara reporter's alter ego. And the PSO2, Bukola Kuti, saying that I should stop calling her IGP mistress. And the IGP also then sought and got an injunction. According, I haven't seen it yet. I've not been served.
Those ones
that I should stop calling him illegal IGP. All these are 3 civil cases. So combined, about 5 criminal cases just last year up until now and 3 major civil lawsuits.
Interesting.
In addition to 15 other lawsuits, civil mostly, for libel against our reporters.
Interesting. How do you manage even the legal end of it with lawyers' bills, and, besides your own personal resilience?
Well, I have to say that, and I want to appreciate all these lawyers for providing pro bono services. And they're not only local, but international. And you are aware that I was sued several times in the US.
Yeah.
And I got a lot of legal support from lawyers in the US who defend free speech for free. I think I went through about 7 cases in the US as well, libel, that I won. And because in those cases, they were never able to prove that, Sahara Reporters was lying.
It's interesting. I mean, why we don't prejudge any of all these cases, I think a lot of Nigerians are coming to the realization that you are quite a fighter, and I wanted to ask you that. So what drives you? I have known you for a long time, since you were University of Lagos Union president, when I was myself just a rookie reporter.
That's right.
But just for the benefit of our audience, what drives you to withstand all of these pushbacks, very significant pushback?
Yes. Well, I think that part of it was experience, and I never rule out that experience of witnessing early in life brutality of all kinds, injustices meted out to people around me. I've spoken relentlessly about experiencing police brutality when I was 10 years old in my village, Tinubu, in the state. And everywhere you just went, you discover that the country, some kind of banana republic that metes out injustice to people, especially poor people. And I come from a poor background, like most Nigerians. But I think also developing yourself ideologically to understand where oppression comes from and how to fight it. And just throwing yourself right on the firing line and just hoping for the best makes all the difference. So, and I've been lucky to have people who along the line have also supported me. I keep mentioning Femi Falana, for example, who's been my lawyer since 1992, who made it impossible for the school authorities to expel us completely from the university. And that's
University of Lagos.
Lagos, yes. And because I was expelled twice.
That was before you became president, or even?
I was expelled before I became president. In fact, my first expulsion was the reason I became president.
Okay, that made you famous.
Yes, because I was running for president of student union, and I was at the back. The guy who was likely to win was called Samanja. He was a comedian. But you know how it is. It's hubris. Students would just love because they wear all these funny dresses. Yeah. And but when they expelled us, the students came back and said, if you're not expelled, that means you're probably not serious. Because we're expelled for fighting against Babangida. The Babangida must go protest in 1992. And I was expelled again after I was about to complete the student union tenure.
So how do you see the difference? It's very understandable when you were fighting the military.
Yes.
But now it's a democratic government, and you just listed at least 8 or 9 both criminal and civil cases from establishment in the people. How do you compare, that consistency of the pushback that you are getting, even under a democratic government compared to military?
See, in general, the democratic or democratic government, I like to call it, the demons who are in democracy are worse than the military. But this is not to say that I prefer military rule.
Okay,
Please,
good
clarification. Yes, but they're more organized and crueler and they're more in numbers than military people. For instance, during our time, we had maybe 20-something military administrators.
Yeah.
And now you have 36 state governors and 37. Everybody who is a special advisor, a governor, a deputy governor, a president, a DSS director, takes laws into their hands. In those days, you only had to deal with the military administrator.
Yeah.
And the president and the vice president, and probably members of the military ruling council. But now, every one of them, a local government councillor has his own killer squad, the chairman does.
You say everybody, as in, you don't find anyone.
I have not found any one of them that is exempt from abuse of power, including those who are now victims of the same abuse they perpetrated during their own time. So, and what you then have is that, I would say that the society, though, takes it for granted that, this is democracy. So we had no guards in place. We had no rear guard. We just let down our guards, walking into the darkness of what they call democracy without being in that kind of guarded position that we were under military rule. So by the time we discovered that we were dealing with monsters, it was probably too late. Yes, because I have suffered more arrests in 2025 than I suffered over the period of 1989 and 1996 when I graduated from the university.
That was the point I was trying to get to, because
I was arrested by the DSS once, even though before the military, maybe twice. When I was at the University of Lagos, I was abducted and kept away at Intercenter for like 2 weeks. And then when I went to Yola to do my NYC, they arrested me, released me after a week, even without a court order. But since I've been under civilian rule, I've spent a month. I spent 5 months in DSS detention. I was abducted in the courtroom under democratic rule, under democracy.
Wow.
I was beaten up, I was rough-handled, tortured. I'd spent time in prison twice, in the last few years. I have been restricted to Abuja for 3 years. My passport was never seized under the military, even though I didn't have a passport technically under the military. I didn't travel anyway, but they had always put me on watch list, even when I had no passport. Because I knew when I was leaving Nigeria in 1999, I was like, finally. But then it was a period of transition. So what I'm trying to say is that the fact that people change uniform do not mean that they change their conduct, except the public forces them to change their conduct. I didn't think, and I must be honest about this, that after all the years of military rule, somebody's going to seize my passport at the airport.
Do you think part of what explains it is that, some of the people that are now in government were actually your comrades?
I have no doubt that they are providing solid consultancy on how to curb the excesses of the opposition, because they have done it very well before. They know the weaknesses of opposition. They know how to divide people. They know how to, bombard the public with wrong information, disinformation, and misinformation. They have done this before, and that's why they're dangerous. They also understand those who are dangerous, according to them, and those who are not, and have figured out to neutralize the less dangerous so that they don't join the dangerous. So the dangerous capacity is likely reduced in numbers.
Interesting.
So because they know them, they know how to reach out to people, bribe them with position. They know how to. They also have a lot of people whose skeletons they have in their possession. So they can call them up and say, don't carry your luck too far, and things like that, yes.
Okay, so still while on your case, in one of the cases, I think the one that the DSS...
so that's a separate one from the 8.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. So that is the one where you are being charged for describing the president as a criminal.
For insulting the president.
Yeah, for insulting the president. And, and one of your defense strategies seems to be, you brought up, a recording of Mr. Reno Mokri, now ambassador designate, by the way, where he also said, where he also, quote unquote, insulted the president. Mr. Reno Mokri has come back to say that, hey, why don't you just defend yourself? Why are you going after what I said? And he said that, something like he has
retracted.
He has changed. How do you respond to that?
Well, I don't know what the lawyers were doing initially until we started talking about how to robustly make our position clear. And it's not an indictment on the lawyers. The lawyers just felt at the beginning that we should go and tell them that we have a right to say this. But every opportunity you have, whether in a courtroom or on the streets for us, is an opportunity to prove a historical point as to where we stand in the country. And so there was a point we decided that we would welcome the trial with open hands and not engage in technicalities. We want to go to trial. And that was where the idea of bringing up a lot of evidence, documentary evidence, came into play. And Reno was just one of them. We have several. But when we got to Reno, before we got to Reno, the government was all over the place saying, yes, we got Sowore. This case is going very well. But when we presented Reno's evidence of what he said to the judge, this courtroom was eerily quiet because they had provided, interestingly, this is what is interesting, they had provided a courtroom that has some of the best video and audio equipment. And I think it was done on purpose. And
this was a federal high court?
Yes, it was federal high court. But they were using a courtroom because they're doing renovation. They're using a courtroom known as UKJ Hall. I think that's where they have their conferences for the judges at the federal high court. But it turns out to be a blessing.
A very well-equipped audio, visual,
everything. Video. So they played their own, and then we decided that, well, let's bring in audio-visual information and evidence. And Reno Mokri's case was the first, and it was well delivered. To the point that by the time we came back again, the judge wouldn't admit too many of those kind of evidence. And he just said, no, you can't tender this evidence through the DSS anymore. And
he did admit that particular one.
He admitted, and that was for us, the blockbuster and the trial so far.
Right.
And because we're not supposed to be discussing strategy when we're still at it.
Right.
And what had happened is that Reno then went to say, well, I've retracted. But, the little bit I know about law is that if you commit a crime, even when you tell the judge that you are sober, that doesn't stop the trial. It doesn't stop anything. And the most important thing is that has been admitted into evidence. It now becomes part of, not only evidence, it becomes part of history. That somebody who had made this very clear, from a very solid standpoint, was granted social promotion. It's in itself an admittance that the person who gave him promotion believed everything he's ever said about him.
Interesting.
Yes.
I think...
But we are not even there yet. We're still on our way to even greater things, I would say.
Very interesting.
Yes.
Let's move along so that we get to the core of the issue. So, how do you see the future of the country in 2027 with what we know already just about a year away and beyond? There are those who have come to the conclusion that, look, whatever it is, we better start planning for 2031. Look at all that we have seen. About 30 governors have moved to APC. The opposition is so disorganized. Do you share that view that, look, let's start planning for 2031?
No, I share the view that 2027 is a long way from now. And that if Nigerians are serious, I'm talking about Nigerians now.
It's a big if.
Yes. Or when they are serious. 2027 will be a different time. And I'm speaking from a position of clairvoyance that you never rule out the outcome of an election in Nigeria simply by looking at the calendar and saying, oh, we have this in the bag. It's never happened like that before. Nigeria, interestingly, has always had a history of pulling out surprises for people who think they have totally changed and controlled things. Sometimes it's natural, because I looked at Babangida. I've been through 7 presidents in this country. Everybody was like, Babangida is going to be the next president, civilian. His transmutation was done. He already had the diarchy. And one day, people like us, small boys, drove him out of power. He said, I'll be back. He never came back to today. And then we're confronted with Shonekon. Shonekon's one was easier because it was completely illegitimate. But the difference between now and then is that we're prepared for whatever surprises they were bringing. And when it came to Abacha, everybody's, in fact, they had already started celebrating.
Right.
When Abacha
because the 5 parties had said...
5 parties had endorsed him.
Let's give it to this guy.
Take the example of 5 parties endorsing Abacha and compared to 31 governors endorsing Tinubu. Same results. We don't know the outcome yet. But the outcome is not predictable yet. Again, conditioned on if and when. The other thing I want to mention is that, you see, there's a difference between you using every means necessary to get to an outcome that you said the end justifies the means. But to be able to remain with your loot after you have supposedly just club at everybody is something people should think about. But there could also be another scenario, predictable or unpredictable, that will be a mass uprising that will change the calculus of power in this country. That's always been my own more comfortable place to be at. Because, you know, sometimes I've been on your show and I've complained about the opposition. I was like, I don't see the opposition.
I remember when we were talking about the shadow government of...
what are you doing with shadow government when the government is already a shadow of itself?
How is that, you know?
We should ask Patutome.
I understand that you guys even met and...
yeah, I saw him at the federal court and I asked him, I said, well, what led you to be putting shadow government in place when you know there's a shadow government in place? How many shadows do we need in this country? And he said to me, Sowore, you know, we are in court. I said, of course, this was the plan from the beginning. And you also saw that, you know, they were complaining about me. It's like, you know, Sowore doesn't come around. And I said, I can't just leave my house to go and attend an opposition meeting just for opposition's sake. So on 2 occasions, I've tested these opposition people. First was when we were doing Nnamdi Kanu's protest. I told them, show up on a matter that is not about what you can benefit from, but it's good for the country. None of them showed up. Again, when we were fighting for this electoral reform or whatever they wanted to do about electronic transmission, we said, when they invited me first, one of those guys, I said to them, go and bring the opposition politicians that you always campaign for. Because one thing I hate most about some of the activism you see now is that when it is time to do the heavy lifting, they will call on Sowore, you know, you are the activist. When it is time for election, they will go and bring the worst characters who are mocking Sowore and them when they are doing the heavy lifting. When they bring the terrible politicians and they start breaking all the China wares in the shop, they're going to bring Sowore again to come and help them do the cleanup. So I've always been very clear to all these young people, and I don't blame them because consciousness is low, but awareness is high. But consciousness without awareness is ignorance.
Absolutely.
Yes. So I say you have to be conscious. This is your time. This is your country.
That's what you say to young people.
Yes, that's what I tell them because they have energy, but they misuse their energy in wrong places, and it's not helped by social media. Because social media lionizes the most ignorant ideas.
But I saw you and Mr. Rotimi Amechi, the SDP presidential candidate, in one of these electoral reforms protests.
I went there twice.
Okay.
The first day when they started inviting people, I wasn't there, but Peter Obi was there.
Peter Obi was there too.
And then the next day I went there. And that was the first day we breached their whatever
cordon.
Yeah, I think they put their cordon. And then I went to Lagos and then they invited me back and said there is now a consortium known as Movement for Credible Elections. And Adebayo
Prince Adebayo
invited me and said that Obi Ezekwesili was coming. And that other people would come. So I rejoined them I actually flew in from Lagos after an outing in Lagos. And I came to the barricades with them with, I think Dalong was there. And we all had He delivered a speech. So, and the left.
This was this week.
This was, I think it was
2 days ago.
2 days ago. I think it was Tuesday, I think. So, and they wanted to leave, but I said, you can't just leave like that.
What do you mean?
Let's go to the National Assembly.
Oh, okay.
Because that's where we should be.
Where were you? At what point were you making the press statement that we saw?
We all sat. We were all standing together. We had different press statements.
No, I mean,
we had a joint statement.
The location. I thought
that was in front of the National Assembly. But
okay, but I wanted them to go further.
Yes, I wanted us to go inside.
Oh, okay.
Because I go to the Capitol in the US all the time, and I attend in another man's country.
Yeah.
Hearings.
True.
Why should my own country,
be different?
National Assembly, be different? You can't go inside there. The police is there as if it's not a National Assembly.
But if you want to enter as a protester, it's a different thing, sure.
No, you yourself have seen in hearings in the US,
oh, yeah?
live, where protesters disrupt hearings of, public hearings at the Congress.
That's true.
There is a gallery, and you have no right to prevent an American citizen from coming there. You cannot say that because you have a bad intention.
Yeah, they will
you cannot go. They won't prevent you. The only thing is that they will prevent you from bringing in weapons that could hurt people.
Yeah.
So, and that's what I said to them. I said,
let's
because there was an emergency meeting going on, let's go and meet them. Let them know that Nigerians do not want them to pass the act as they envisaged it. And that was how the police just descended on us with tear gas, this special tear gas.
And then you are talking about that this tear gas is
never seen it before, because it wasn't only choking us, it was penetrating through our skin. And then I started remembering that El-Rufai had said that they imported some colorless, odorless, because this one was colorless, odorless, it was like aerosol. The guy had a massive canister around his chest, and he just pumped in the air. And before you knew it, people were falling left, right, and center.
No. Yes. Let's talk about El-Rufai.
And then they sent their own, they then sent the usual mopo with the main tear gas canisters.
I see. Interesting.
Yes.
I hope they didn't do anything that will hurt anybody ultimately.
If it does, we're monitoring. But yeah, the thing I want to say before you go to the next question is that, you see, people take these things for granted. The natural state of the human person is for you not to interfere with their health. Except the law is even very clear, except it is absolutely necessary.
Yeah.
Should you use gas canisters of any kind to attack people, whether we like it or not? We've had experience where a tear gas canister killed, an opposition politician in this country.
That's
Chuba Okadibo, who was Buhari's opposition.
He died.
They tear gassed him, and the next day he died of the complication of tear gas. So you should not take these things for granted. Nobody investigated that. Nobody did an autopsy to know what it was. So, and I've been inside the police car last year, and I saw tear gas canisters beside me that were expired. We don't know where they brought them from.
Wow.
Yes.
Interesting. That's
key.
That's a very critical one.
Yes.
But let's, since you mentioned El-Rufai, do you think, Mr. Rotimi Amaechi has said that, look, El-Rufai does not have the capacity to hack any phone. Do you think, or let me just make it very broad. What's your take on this El-Rufai arrest and then all the claims that he made?
That's why I'm saying that the current government is more dangerous than the previous one. You see, the reason why they are doing this to El-Rufai and the rest of them is because El-Rufai was also a strategist in doing this kind of a thing in the past. They all arrested me. They were all quiet when I was arrested for treason. And I'm sure they were providing, daily dose of consultancy. This is how to deal with Sowore and all that. So they understand him. And if you look at the tactic that El-Rufai was bringing up, they used to use that. That was how they came to power in 2015. They were arresting, in fact, El-Rufai and Rotimi Amaechi would volunteer themselves to DSS. They'll come drive back. And they are former friends who are now in the same political party they are in. They say, look, if we don't handle these people differently, they're likely to think that it's big deal because this is how we took power. We can't lose power this way. This is our, this is our script for taking power. So I think that is why they're handling El-Rufai. What they're going to do is that they're going to be hauling him from courtroom to courtroom, which is how El-Rufai also dealt with his opponents in Kaduna State when he was governor. He had no tolerance for lawyers, priests. He was kidnapping people. El-Rufai himself confessed that he knew how one of the biggest opponents they had in Dadiata was abducted from his state, where he was chief security officer. He claimed that it was the Kano state governor that came to
who has said
and that one is denied. But El-Rufai made mention of the fact that it was the policeman who led the attack is now in Ekiti State. So he has provided all the clues. In my view, El-Rufai's biggest crime at this time is that he's an accessory to the abduction of a Nigerian who is missing. And not this.
Dadiata.
Yes. That Dadiata's case for me is the main meter. Not that he said he hacked somebody's phone. And I don't think that he meant that he hacked Nuhu Ribadu's phone.
Yeah.
He may not have but El-Rufai likes hyperboles.
Yeah.
So, and he knows that that part of the case won't go anywhere. What might have happened is Nuhu Ribadu's closest friend. They're probably still using the same security. Maybe those ones overheard Nuhu Ribadu shouting on the phone that go and deal, and then contacted El-Rufai. But that is not to say, and this is important for Nigerians, that they don't have technology to hack your phone. They're probably on my phone as we speak. They're probably on a lot of people's phones. It is the kind of investment they make when they go to the state of Israel, is to hack not just the records, but your WhatsApp messages and other social media messaging systems, so that they can listen in on what you're saying and what you're planning. Most importantly, sometimes just to blackmail you.
Exactly.
I know, for instance, that Wike paid somebody, and the IG they met and said they should hack my phone.
The FCT minister.
Yes, when I was on his case last year. So it was a collaboration of all my enemies. They brought in Fakorede, who was the person who hacked Wike's phone.
Fakorede is the commissioner for police.
He's the commissioner of police now. But he was in Rivers and hacked Wike's phone. That was how they revealed that Wike was trying to kill INEC officials and was bribing them. You remember that phone on Sahara Reporters? It was Fakorede that did the hacking.
But they denied it.
No, he can't deny it. He admitted to it when he arrested me last year.
Oh, I see.
In fact, he told me that the only reason he respects me was that when they were looking for people to publish that, I was the only person that was suggested even by people who hated me.
I take it to Sahara Reporters.
I take it to Sahara Reporters. They will not collect money and not publish.
Okay. So, because of our time, we already spent... I wanted you to talk about the electoral reforms.
Yeah.
So this electoral transmission of results has happened with this proviso, and the president, signed it promptly. How do you read this? So
I'm always trying to be a little deeper when we have these conversations. And the deeper part of it is that the Nigerian electoral system has passed a stage of reforms, even though symbolically we support people. Because I like to meet people in their place of consciousness, even if it's midway. So when you find all these young people agitating for things, I like it because even when it may not be the exact total of what I want, the fact that they're out there is good for society, in enlarging the resistance army.
Yeah.
As far as I'm concerned. But at the end, what they have done is to say to you, look, we don't care what you think. We're going to do it our own way. We are going to use the human factor in determining who becomes your next selected leaders. So if we rely on machines, it creates problem for us. But the deeper side of it is that even when this election result from EC8 are transmitted instantaneously, they are transmitting what has actually been tampered with in most of the polling units. The other question people don't ask is regional. Even the beavers that we're talking about, have anybody asked that in how many regions of Nigeria do they use beavers?
Oh, do you mean it's not?
BVAS is not commonly used, for instance, in certain parts of the country, like in the north in particular, because they have reasons not to, remoteness, lack of network, the fact that the machine could overheat under certain time. Nobody takes this into consideration.
Interesting.
So, likely, BVAS is a southern Nigeria voters.
Is that so?
Machine, yes. Nobody has
Because
asked, because they can't even find, and this is what INEC told us in 2023, that to even find people to train to use BVAS in certain part of the north is a challenge. My preference would have been electronic voting. Yes, electronic voting machines, as they're using in India. India uses electronic voting machines for 930-something million registered voters, and they rarely go to court. And what it does is a flat board. You go there, you put in your name, your social security number, it presents you with your name, you see it, and it presents you with different ballot papers, digital ballot paper. You say, this is the person I want to vote for. You say, are you sure? He said, yes. It gives you governor, senator, you press, it says, you do, I'm done. It sends you a copy of your results. And it sends one to the memory of the machine. When you are done, there's no need for tabulation. The Excel in the system will tabulate and show to everybody. They put it, it's almost as big as this. And before, as it's tabulated, as you are voting, it's also going to a system. So there's backup. There's backup for the voter himself. So if you have to present your preference in court, you have a copy. And it is the same way we transfer money. If you transfer money electronically to somebody today and the person says, I haven't seen your money, you go back to your app, you print it out, or you screenshot it and send it to the person. He then goes to his bank to figure out what happened. And that way, if I say I sent you 25,000 naira, it's 25,000 naira you get. But what they are doing is to go back to the banking system where they count money to you. Yeah. And the banker can remove two, and they know you don't have time to check.
Interesting.
Yes.
Interesting.
So these are things that we must fundamentally also question. But what Nigerians are saying is that, let me even have it halfway. If I get to see whatever it is, whenever it is uploaded, we are good to go. And the last thing I want to say about BVAS is that BVAS has memory. And the transmission that we're talking about is not even immediate transmission. So it's first of all, it's a screenshot from EC8
that was signed by everybody.
Signed by everybody. And there's already a copy also given to every polling unit agent. So what the electronic transmission does is that the changes that happen when you go to the local government collation center is what people are trying to avoid. That it comes to IREV, we have viewed it. We are doing the tabulation ourselves. So if you bring any other result, we have something counter to say, we already seen the results from all these polling units. What I'm trying to say, which I should not bypass, is that even when the BVAS machine at the point of screenshotting cannot transmit, it has the capability to transmit whenever it finds network.
And that
because it keeps searching for network, just like a WhatsApp. Until it finds one, and it still sends to
deliver.
So, likely, every BVAS machine can transmit results whenever it finds network. It may just not be immediate. But then, if you look at the number that are delayed, the public is likely to accept 80% reporting on IREV while we wait for the one in the memory. And when the one in the memory comes, even if it's 2 days, we still see it.
True.
Because there will be a timestamp there that said, this thing has been trying to send since yesterday.
Interesting. Okay, last question. Since you said that, you don't think that 2027 is done, will you be supporting an opposition coalition to present a common front in 2027?
I have provided a common front for the opposition, like I told you several times. The question you should ask is that, would the so-called opposition surrender their greed, their selfishness, and their so-called interest in Nigerian people to support solid people and solid ideas. That is to say that would the opposition protest for things that don't benefit them directly?
Interesting. But are you in talks with them, about this?
I see them all the time. We talk. This is also how to have conversations with them. The problem I have is sitting down with some of them, and I have expressed that openly. I can't, for instance, sit down with El-Rufai to discuss the future of Nigeria. I can't sit down with Malami to discuss the future of Nigeria. I can't sit down with most of them because they are the ones who made the future that I've been fighting for 35 years to be impossible.
Can you sit down with Peter Obi or Amechi?
I see Peter Obi all the time. And I ask him, what is it you did when you were governor for 8 years? He doesn't answer. Peter Obi is an expert in subterfuge. He will say, but Sowore, this is not the conversation we should be having right now. We want to defeat. I say, but how do you defeat people that we are not different from? The real opposition should be those of us who have not failed the country.
Interesting.
The opposition cannot be those who fail halfway, who want to go and fail again. Because that's what Peter Obi said was the reason for him to. He said he wants to go and exchange ideas. No, he didn't say correct. No, exchange ideas with people who have been failing. But find out why they were failing. He should have said, I want to be with the people with whom we have been failing the country.
But what about if they also have experience, they've done it one way, now they want to do it the other way?
Thank you very much for asking that question. We have two men in this country who have had experience failing before, who came and failed more. Obasanjo, number one, and Buhari, number two.
So there's no...
So nobody can bamboozle me with, they failed before, they've learned their lessons. And these people had sufficient time. If Buhari had gone to school between the time he failed the first time and the time he came back in 2015, he could have earned 2 or 4 PhDs. Yes, because he was kicked out in 1985, I think, and he became president in 2015. Period of 30, I think, is that not 30 solid years? Obasanjo left power in 1979. He came back in 1999. It's instructive. There's always, that 9 must be there. The numbers are constant.
Okay.
And he went to prison. Where else can you learn to be different, to go to prison?
Interesting.
And he came back and became hardened criminals. And you want me to believe that people failed before. It's not possible.
Thank you so much,
Thank you for having
Mr. Omoyele Sowore. Thank you for your insight. Thank you for the courage that drives a lot of your action and the resilience of it over the years. And thank you for coming to Inside Sources.
Thank you. Always, I made a promise that I would try and show up here as frequently as I can.
And we appreciate it. And we appreciate your views also. Welcome back to Inside Sources. Today, we want to have a full court on 2 important issues. Now, we call the first one El-Rufai versus Nuhu Ribadu. And of course, the second conversation is going to be around electoral reforms, with a specific focus on the issue of electronic transmission of results. To join me today, we have a full house for this conversation. To my far right, we have Malam Baba Yusuf, strategist, policy advisor, public intellectual, and the CEO of GITC. Madam, welcome back to Inside Sources.
Always a pleasure to be here.
Excellent.
Thank you so much, Prof.
Thank you for coming. And right on my immediate right, we have author, journalist, and a retired banker, Mr. Etim. Etim, good to see you again.
Nice to be back.
I think it's the first time we're having this in the year, this crew. So it's good to see you guys. Happy New Year. Happy New Year. All right. So let's start with Etim. Now, the way I see what is happening to El-Rufai, we cannot deny the fact that all of this started when he was dropped by the National Assembly after he had been nominated for minister. But anybody who doesn't see the hand of Nuhu Ribadu in this thing, we have to take a second look. Not just because Malam El-Rufai himself has pinpointed Ribadu, but because many of us know that when Ribadu ran ACN presidential race in 2011, that was the beginning of the problem with Malam El-Rufai, because Malam El-Rufai was the one that was meant to be presidential candidate with the support of Nuhu Ribadu, who was then expected to become Inspector General of Police. But guess what? In 2011, all of that changed. Our president then picked Malam Ribadu to run as ACN. For me and those who know the history, that is the foundation of the problem that we have in the relationship between El-Rufai and Ribadu, who started in the public estimation as friends. Now, Etim, you are also a journalist for a long time. How do you read this?
I read it. You've read it correctly, and that was the foundation. If that was the foundation, then 2031 is the real crux of the matter. If 2011 was the foundation, 2031 is the crux of the matter.
Wow.
It's clear to Nuhu Ribadu that the president has tapped him as his successor in 2031. That's the impression many people have. And so it is Nuhu's fight now, Nuhu's responsibilities now, to make sure that whoever could possibly be on his way, would have to be demolished. And so far, El-Rufai is the number one target. And El-Rufai himself is not helping matters. He's talking too much, and he's being reckless. Personally, I see this as his own comeuppance. He has come to his own comeuppance. Judgment has come for him.
Madam Baba, how do you read this?
Well, it's palace, interests of the palace between two long-term friends. Although I see it differently. These were colleagues that became acquaintances and friends of convenience. I define friendships. Yeah, friendship should have gone before 1999. Friendship should have been maybe in ABU's area, which is their alma mater for both of them.
But they in school at the same time?
No, they were in the same school, but not at the same year, but different campuses. I mean, Malam Nasir was in Samaru, while Malam Nuhu Ribadu studied in Congo School of Admin, while he was in Sciences in Congo Survey. But the key issue for me is, it is when they found themselves in the palace during the time of President Olusegun Obasanjo, now have to align themselves, being the poster boys for Obasanjo at that time. That's why I call it a friendship of convenience.
Right.
And therefore, that is not a friendship that was really tested. And of course, it precipitated when the interest came to the fore. Everybody has his ambition. I don't blame Malam Nuhu Ribadu for being ambition. Neither do I blame Malam Nasir El-Rufai for being ambition. But I think the sense of entitlement of Malam Nasir El-Rufai is what to me leaves a very bad taste in the mouth. Maybe because at the first instance, it looked like the one that could have been, that was proposed, to be, but what it is now is for me to focus on the one that is in the eyes of the storm, Malam Nasir El-Rufai. It appears he has done himself in and has not, learned from the script of the great Chinese philosopher, military general and strategist Sun Tzu, that says he will win. He who knows when to fight and when not to fight. It appears his intelligence is not playing out at the strategic level for Malam Nasir El-Rufai to become so emotional and railroading himself, as it were, in this position. Now, over the past few months, especially after he lost the opportunity to be in the cabinet of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, Malam Nasir El-Rufai lost it. And that, to my mind, is where he missed it. The impression that Malam Nasir El-Rufai also, while we are talking in this forum, anybody, it insults the sensitivities and sensibilities of Nigerians, that the discussion about 2031 is about Malam Nasir El-Rufai and Malam Nuhu Ribadu. Come on. We are talking about the Federal Republic of Nigeria, gentlemen. We are talking about Northern Nigeria, gentlemen. So for both of them, I would say hello. Let's wait and see how it pans out.
Now, there is a book, A Paradise for Maggots. It was published in 2010. A Paradise for Maggots, the story of a Nigerian anti-graft Sir. It's written by Wale Adebanwi, who is now a professor of political science, African history at the University of Pennsylvania. A personal friend, by the way, for full disclosure. He has documented, in that book, he has documented what happened in 2010, 2011, when Ribadu became the candidate of ACN. That was Tinubu's party then. And interestingly, Mr. Akin Oshutokun, who was one of the senior special assistants during the Obasanjo presidency, has recently recalled some of the details in this book, Paradise for Maggots, which is essentially a book on New Ribadu's time as EFCC chairman. He has recalled how President Obasanjo, in trying to determine who his successor will be, set up quite a few caucus groups. And one of those caucus groups had, Malam, El-Rufai, Nuhu, Obi Ezekwesili, Akin Oshutokun himself. And Akin Oshutokun actually had the information that Chief Bayo Ojo, who was then the Attorney General of the Federation, was the chair of one of those caucus groups. So Obasanjo had two tracks. There was one track to determine from among the governors who could be a successor, and another track among the ministers. So that was where Nuhu and El-Rufai seemed to have aligned to push Nuhu for the president. Now, it didn't happen because,
Nasir. To push Nasir.
Yeah. So one of the caucus, they were hoping that Nasir would become the president. And that was where Nuhu was also playing along, like you call it the friendship of convenience. I like that term. That, okay, you're going to be president and then I'll become Inspector General of Police. Now, the reason why I've recalled this is just so people understand that these things are already documented, and none of them have actually come out to dispute that this is what is happening. But I want to bring it back to you, Etim, to now say that how do you think, how do you assess the response that the Tinubu administration is giving to Malam El-Rufai? And I'll give you a scenario. He said that he knew that, they are going to arrest him, and he arrives at the airport, there's a crowd ready at the airport. He says, Rufai says that the crowd came from the aircraft, okay? But there was a crowd that kind of said, oh, you can't arrest this guy. Now, somebody else has said that, no, they didn't even want to arrest him. They just wanted to seize his passport. Now, but do you think that the Tinubu administration is responding properly and strategically to El-Rufai's
challenge?
Like.
By Tinubu administration, I think you mean Nuhu Ribadu. He's the one leading this fight on behalf of the administration. The administration has given him a clear mandate to deal with this unbound terrible. Is it responding well? Not really, because it seems that they too are playing into the hands of El-Rufai. Now EFCC has arrested him, detained him for a night. He has now been moved to ICPC, and ICPC is keeping him. We don't know where else he's going to go. I think they are killing a fly with a sledgehammer. He doesn't deserve all this attention. I mean, you can deal with an opposition personality without bringing the full force of the security apparatus of the country on one man.
Yeah.
So it is clear to Nigeria, from EFCC to DSS to ICPC, it's clear to Nigeria.
Within days.
Within days. It's clear to Nigerians that this is persecution of the highest order. I can't recall when one person, one opposition element was so pursued in this country. I can't recall when last. So Nuhu is combining personal vendetta with his own official agenda. to pursue El-Rufai. And El-Rufai will not come out of this unscathed.
Interesting. Let's take it to Madam. You were saying in your first comment that you also wanted to talk about, Rufai's own strategy. Please take it away.
Yeah, I think the government is giving Malam Nasir El-Rufai too much attention, and that is giving him more, whether it's his credibility,
more oxygen,
more oxygen, whether it's credibility or otherwise. But of course, without diminishing in any way the critical issues. And I don't want Nigerians to get carried away by the optics. I believe that the way and manner to deal with Malam Nasir El-Rufai is not to give him the stage to dance on. To demonstrate the silent power of government in a strategic way to deal with him, because already Malam Nasir El-Rufai, as far as I'm concerned, not just his cup, his flask is full. So it's just simple, move in, address the issues one by one, while he continues making his noise. Malam Nasir El-Rufai is a demagogue. Take it or leave it. So he will continue to grandstand. He will continue to make these noises. Albeit we can see what noise can bring onto the table for you. But that being said, it is what it is. Malam Nasir El-Rufai is the NSA. Without prejudice to what he's doing behind the scenes, we don't know.
Right.
Let us also not forget that Malam Nasir El-Rufai, if we say Malam El-Rufai is the only person that he is sparring with in this government, we are also making him such a superman, which is not. Malam Nasir El-Rufai, over his career, 26 years political career, has been making enemies almost every 24 hours. Suffice it to say, the known and unknown, the seen and unseen are there. The sense of entitlement, the arrogance, the level of the lack of decorum in the way and manner he was doing his things to the elites, to the masses, across religious divide, all over the place, has made him a common enemy to a lot of people across the power blocks. And that is, I think, his Achilles heels. Let us not forget, this is a man that woke up one day and had the temerity to insult the northern elders, which includes my father, by the way, and that is why it's personal to me. To say there is no elder, there is no person in the north that he respects.
This was when he was governor or afterwards?
No, when he was governor.
All right.
For me, it's about Nigeria and how we should move forward, not to bellyache or Malam Nasir El-Rufai.
Thank you so much, gentlemen. This is a conversation that we're going to continue, in our next edition. I'd like to thank you for coming to Inside Sources, Malam Baba Yusuf and Mr. Etim.
A pleasure.
Thank you very much.
Thanks so much. And that's it. Another edition of Inside Sources. Like we always say, Nigeria will prevail. It means Nigeria will win. Thank you for watching. My name is Laulu Akonde. And again, I'll see you by the grace of God at the next edition.